Hi, welcome to the Barnsdall Junior Arts College online piano class. My name is Vera Lugo. I am the piano instructor for Barnsdall Junior Arts College. I usually teach classes piano 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And this is an experiment that we're doing now because of the stay-at-home orders. So this is the first video in our series. It's going to be a 12-video series with a focus on composition. And I'll say this, I think, a few other times in the video. But the culmination of this class will be a composition recital, and each student who wants to participate can film a video of themselves playing a song that they wrote, and you're going to learn how to write a song in this class. It'll be very fun. I wanted to start off by showing you the inside of the piano. That's something that not a lot of people get to see. If you have a keyboard at home, totally fine. A piano is not required for this class. It's great if you have one to play, but if you have a keyboard, that's fine too. If you're going to purchase a keyboard to learn how to play piano, it's good to get one with weighted keys. That's weighted like W-E-I-G-H-T, because it's more like a real piano. But if you don't have that, if you just have a toy piano, you'll still be able to learn something from this class, and you'll still be able to create a composition to share with everybody. So now let's take a look inside the piano. This is an upright piano, an upright acoustic piano. Upright means that unlike a grand piano, which you'll see a picture of in just a moment, it's upright like this. See how there's no back of it? This is the back right here. So a grand piano will have this whole thing here where the strings go out. And you might be surprised to hear me say strings. Let's take a look inside this piano. So this is just a normal piano keyboard here. Very old, but what's happened is that we've opened up the front of it. We took the wood off of the front so that you can see inside. And inside, you'll see all these different components. There's these things. Those are the strings. There's these things. They're called the hammers. Can you guess why? They're kind of like hammers. And this whole thing together is called the action. This part back here with the metal and the strings is called the harp, because like a harp, it has strings strung across it. Now guess what? We have a piano, right? When we hit the keys, and watch out, this piano is very out of tune. So we hit our keys, we have sound. Now watch what happens when we do that. So what's happening when we hit the keys is they go all the way up inside the piano here. And then when you press the key, it moves this part forward, which hits this part right here, and that makes the hammer hit the string, and that's what makes the noise. Now, this piano has 3 strings per note. So each of these 3 strings is tuned the same. So you just get one really loud sound that's all the same. But if the piano's really out of tune like this one, sometimes the strings aren't quite in tune with each other. So that's how a piano works. You hit the key rises and makes the hammer hit the string, and that's how we get our sound. And that's it. Look, if I hold the key down, the string gets to keep ringing. But if I let go of the hammer, if I let go of the key, the damper goes back on there. See that part right in there with the felt? That's felt in there. You can't feel it, but you can see it. That's felt. So when that's up, the string can ring. When it's down, the string can't ring anymore. So when I hit a note, that part comes away, and then if I let go, it goes back and stops the sound. So that's it. That's how a piano works. Next, we're going to look at how the keyboard is put together, or how it's arranged. Each of these things that are like buttons on a keyboard, those are called keys, hence the name keyboard. So you can press all these buttons, you can press all these keys, but they all have different sounds, right? Have you noticed that if you've played a keyboard or a piano before? They all have different sounds. So you can press any button, and each button corresponds to a different sound. So how do we know which button makes which sound? Well, that's all in the arrangement of the keys. Every keyboard in the entire world that you see, unless for some reason somebody has changed it to be different on purpose, you can pretty much always bet that they're going to be arranged exactly the same. And here we go. So The way that we look at it is based on these groups of black keys. We have our white keys down here and our black keys up here. Notice how there are groups of 2 and 3 black keys. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, all the way up the keyboard, right? So we like to center everything in Western music right here. This is called middle C. Now, if you have perfect pitch, or if you have a tuning app, you might hear that this isn't actually C, because this piano is very out of tune. But if it was on an electric piano or a keyboard, that would sound like the note C. And it doesn't matter what it sounds like right now, because we're just going off of the arrangement. The arrangement's going to be the same no matter what. So, any note that's right below a group of 2 black keys, right below and to the left, right there, that's called C. So if I move all the way down here to the bottom of the piano, here's our 2 black keys, right? Here's 3, here's 2. Down to the left. That's C. And look, we can move up here to the next group. Here's another 2, down below to the left. That's C. There's our middle C again. It's called middle C because it's in the middle of the piano, if you notice that. And up here, there's another C. Here's our 2, down to the left. And one more on this piano. 2, down to the left. Each one of these C's is what we call a different octave. Now let me show you why it's called an octave. I'm going to start here at this C below middle C. Here's our middle C. This is the C 1 octave below. Now watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many sides does an octagon have? 8 sides. How many legs does an octopus have? 8 legs. How many notes are in an octave? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. So each of these C's is 1 octave apart. So the keyboard is built around these black keys and these white keys. And later in this class, when we get into looking at reading music and doing finger placement and doing scales, like I just played a scale, we'll talk more about what each of the notes means and the difference between all of these things, all of these distances between the notes, things like that. But for now, we're just going to look at the C's. So if you're following along at home and you have a keyboard, go ahead and go to the piano and try to find every C on your keyboard. See how many there are. Now, a lot of big old regular pianos have a certain number of keys that you may have heard before. It's 88 keys. Now this piano is a little bit smaller. It doesn't have 88 keys. And I'm not going to count all of them, but I can tell you that it's about 5.5 octaves. And you know how I know that? Look at this. Here's 1 octave from C to C. Here's another octave from C to C. Here's a 3rd octave, C to C. Here's a 4th octave, C to C. And all the way up here, this very top note is also C. That's our 5th octave. And then way down here where I started, we have about half an octave below that. So this is 5.5 octaves. But most keyboards that you see have 88 keys, which is closer to 7 octaves, I believe. So we're going to talk about things like melody, like harmony, like chords, scales, all these different things that are actually kind of general music, not just piano specific. But I really wanted to show you today the inside of a piano. That's not something you get to see very often. Usually pianos are closed and we don't get to see the strings and the hammers and all of that. So now that you know how a piano works, I hope that you're a little bit inspired to play and to play with it and to have some fun. Now this class is focused on what we call composition, and composition means writing your own music, writing your own songs, right? So I'm going to show you some of the ways that you can use a piano to make sounds, to make different sounds that you can use in your composition. So let me show you some of the different things on a piano, some of the different sounds you can make. So I've already shown you how we press the keys, and the keys make the sound with the strings there. But if you notice, I showed you this too. That makes a sound too. That's a little bit quieter, right? But it's a sound. You can make sounds with all of these strings inside the piano. Now, if you're going to do this, I recommend that your hands are clean, so make sure you wash your hands. You know what? It's always kind of a good idea to wash your hands before you play the piano anyway, because look how dirty keys can get. If your hands aren't clean, or if your piano's living in a garage like mine is, it's a good idea to wash your hands, but especially before you touch the keys. The strings, especially before you touch the strings. The strings are temperamental, and they like to be handled gently. But that's one of the ways you can make sounds. You could also, you can use these hammers without the keys to make sounds. Do you notice that? Okay, now let me see if I can find something to stick behind a string. And you might be like, what? What are you talking about? I'm in a garage. I found a piece of debris. You might have something else in your house like erasers, something like that. If you put something in the strings like this, it changes the sound on the keyboard. Do you hear that buzzing? That's because the vibrations now are going through the string and into this piece of paper that I found. What if I fold the paper up a little bit more when I put it in there? Does that change the sound even more? It's a little bit duller. What if we take it out? Let's hear what that sounds like. Yeah, that's definitely a different sound. Now, something I recommend you look up on YouTube is a group of pieces by a composer named John Cage. He wrote a group of pieces for prepared piano. What that means is that he took a bunch of different stuff like erasers, like trash, like paper clips, like things you would never think to use, and he put them in the strings of his piano, and he wrote music for it. And it sounds really interesting, so I think you should, I'll have a link in the description that you can go look at John Cage's pieces for prepared piano and see what that sounds like. So that's just another idea of sounds that you can use with just a piano to write a song. We're going to look at a bunch of different other things in this class, like chords, like scales, how to write melodies, harmonies, things like that. Looking forward to the rest of the class. Bye.